hey, I think we're live. Let me check on my signal here. I've got some social media posts to do real fast, and then we'll get to work. So, first things first, let's see if I'm live and how the signal sounds. First things first, let's see if I'm live and how the signal sounds. First things first, let's let's drop that sound away. Get it out of the way. Get out of there, buddy. All right, that's good. And I'm grabbing the link now here. We're going to do some fast social media posts, and then we're going to get to work. So clickety-click, clickety-click. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish online, and I create content right now for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Let's see. What we're looking at is the book cover to Crystals of Mabar. It's for 7th and 8th level characters. We're fighting necromancers, demons, and undead in the Carnwood of Carnath on the continent of Corvair. And let's see. Hey, my social media posts are done. So let's go ahead and get out of the way now. We're going to do some artwork for the book now. So if you think this stuff is cool, let me fix my camera here. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we're live in the future. Thanks a lot for support, guys. Here's a bunch of books I've already created for D&D 5e. It's all published on the DMsGuild. We're going to be updating a lot of this stuff for the 2024 rules. Once we're finished with the Eberron adventure that we're working on right now, we're going to be basically building new tools for 2024. And so let's get after it. So let me get the book cover out of the way. And how are we looking on the screen here? Okay, good. Everything's lining up the way it's supposed to. Chaka. There we go. Okay, cool. So working on the book cover here, or not book cover. We're working on the splash page right now. Adding the masking layer in here and here. Getting rid of our references. We're going to expand the text here for concluding the adventures so we fill in the space a little bit better. And Murph. Double Murph. What's going on with my screen? Windows. We need to have our tools back on the screen here. Blip, blip. There. Just back to a round tool. Not sure exactly. There we go. There. That's going to probably be right about there is our center point. Like, this is the actual space that we have for the picture, which is a lot less than what we've actually been building out for the picture. Disable. We're doing a lot of stuff in comparison to what's going to actually be on screen. Oh yeah, that's right. I had a point here. For those that aren't familiar already, this is a 16:9 format. It's basically a 17-inch by 10-inch sheet, like legal-sized piece of paper, right? Like 2 pages, like 2 8.5 by 11s next to each other, and then it's in a horizontal. A landscape perspective. So we have 3 columns that are roughly 5.5 inches wide each. Where's my device? I need to start a timer to stay on track for today. There it is. Scared. So like if you're on a phone, right, it's gonna be oriented like this, and you'll be able to see the whole page at the same time, just like you can see on screen here. I'm setting a timer. Make sure we stay on track for the day. Cool. But if you're looking at each individual column, you can zoom in so it fills the space horizontally. It's also 16:9. So I've never used this format before. It's really interesting to use. I'm enjoying the process a lot. So I'm considering other books in the future being in this format as well. It's because all my stuff is meant to be digital. I don't intend for any of my work to be printed. So interesting. It's a really fun format. I'm enjoying it, and hopefully, if it flies well, we'll be able to do similar in the future as well. So we're gonna disable the layer mask. We're gonna get rid of the text. Gonna add that back in. All right, so let's get back to work. So we're working currently on Atur Academy, and let's see. I think I want to trim down. Oops, I need to. Press repeat. Click here. Yeah, I want to make those towers a little bit more vertical. So I'm going to fix that a little bit. And we observe that there's a gap over on the left-hand side of the mountains. I want to fill those back in. We're making progress on this. We don't really have that much more to do. Wait, where's my presets? Hold on. Where are my presets? Tools. Load. Nope. Huh. No. Cancel. Cancel. Where is... I always forget how... I don't have to do this a lot, so I keep forgetting how to do it. Purge preset. Preferences. Let's see. Is it workflow? General. File handling. Tools. Hold on real quick. I have to monkey around for a minute. So this is unexpected. Give me a second here. Let's go. Let's see if I can... I switched my screen around because I don't know what is crawling around inside my computer I'm going to have to find, but I feel like I need to go find... No, my presets aren't where I expect them to be, so now I have to go hunt around inside my computer real quick. Photoshop. Let's go to D. Yeah, I'm not finding them. It's weird. Hey, Fox. I tried back to the world of Philtopia. I see things are where I mostly left them. Hey, what's up? Yeah, I had the day off yesterday. I had to go do day job stuff early morning. Currently, I'm trying to find out what happened to my presets. They're missing. So I'm trying to find them. Photoshop, recording, backup placeholders, Photoshop preferences. They're supposed to be in here and they're not. So I'm concerned that they're gone. SRA. I'm going to try turning off Photoshop and turning it back on again. See if that yields a result that I like, because I have no idea why it disappeared. And I can't, and apparently the presets that I have aren't being recognized and are not where they're supposed to be. So either something about the preset file changed in 2025 that rendered them inoperable, or they got lost somehow. So I'm a little upset at the moment because all of the quick keys that I use aren't currently functioning. Yeah, it's horribly crippling. So it's worth taking the extra few moments to find out where the hell did they go. All right, let's go on a quick adventure. So we'll go to edit, and we'll go to presets. No, I want. Let's see, what I want. Keyboard shortcuts. That's what I actually want. There it is. I forgot which button I'm supposed to press. Back to life, back to reality. Okay, cool. Everything's good now. This moment of crisis brought to you by Phil. Unnecessarily, of course, as most crises are. Okay, we're back in the saddle. So, let's see. When things go smoothly, I stream Monday through Friday in the morning like this, and then I do game design in the evenings on Mondays and Thursdays like tonight, as well as Tuesdays and Friday lunches like tomorrow. And right now we are working on Strixhaven Mage Tower rules to run the Mage Tower sport as a PvP arena, where instead of players making characters to kill each other, we make athletes to score points. And let's get these trees out of the way. I'm really happy with where it's coming along. I had a lot of downtime on the bus yesterday while I was commuting, and gave me an opportunity to think through the rules a little bit. And I think the Mage Tower rules to be able to conduct PvP combat, or PvP competitions, I think it's going to actually be a very light. I don't think there needs to be a lot of rules in place. I think I have most of them solved. And so when we are back on stream this evening, we're going to finish making the arena and then outline the rules, and those will be good to go as soon as people build athletes. So the idea currently is, if we don't have enough people to run a mega dungeon adventure, but we have people that show up, as long as we have at least 2 people that show up, we could still do like 2v2 matches, like the DM controls 2 athletes and the players control 2. But if we were to have like 6 people show up in playtesting, that's too many people to effectively run a mega dungeon, because there's just too many bodies on the board. You're not going to make enough progress. So if we had 6 people that wanted to show up and do some playtesting with us on a Saturday morning, then we could, instead of running Mega Dungeon, we could run a game of Mage Tower where it's 3v3, player versus player, and then the DM is literally just a referee. I think there's some interesting potential there. I have yet to see I've participated in a number of PvP arena style games where, build a sick build and see who wins. It basically comes down to who can theory craft the best. And they're boring as fuck. They're stupid fucking games, but people really want to compete against each other and like prove who has the best character and stuff like that. And honestly, I think a sport that isn't about killing your other character might be the most fun way to get that competitive urge out of the way without having to prove, without having to attack each other. Call me a pacifist if you want, but I think that's a fun idea. Put some curve into here. No, I don't want curve in there because this is cutting off where that curve would be, which is around the corner here. I do want to bring this down a bit. Being very nitpicky with this piece. I'll square that off. I can round the edges a little bit, but I want it squared for the most part. Hey, there's sex going on. What's up? We're on a quest. Oh man, I know, right? That was ridiculously easy to resolve once I remembered how the fuck Photoshop works. The biggest problem is, how does Photoshop work? It's such a complex machine, and I use it for such simple uses. It's the I would seriously, I would switch to clip art studio, but I can't. It's like clip art, the way that brushes, the way that you manipulate brushes feels a little weird, and the something feels wrong about layers in clip art. I don't know what it is. It might just be me not being familiar enough with it, but the sample, like the trial run that I ran with it, just did not jive at all for me. So I pretty much just let that one go and came back to Photoshop. There's something, I don't know. It's probably just familiarity. Having worked in Photoshop for 20 years, I might just be irredeemably captured. Stockholm syndrome at this point. But the tools are just so good. Let's do that. Yeah, that feels better. That feels a lot better, actually. Merge down. Merge layers. We can bring this in a bit. I feel like we need to bring this down a tick. Like there. Yeah, I think that's probably the right place for it. I'll bring it in a little bit like this. We're making little balconies, but they just, considering the motif, they kind of fit the idea of spine. You got 1, 2, 3 tiers here. So basically, yeah, like this is walkway, windows and stuff, and then we'll just have a large bay, ground floor, large doors. Not to proportion. Let's bring these in a bit. That feels pretty good. Very simple. Yes. There we go. Duplicate. Free transform, flip horizontal. Easy symmetry. There. There we go. Not bad for a general structure. I do feel like, though, that it can be squatter. I feel like what I want to do is squinch it just a smidge. Free transform. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, it feels good. We'll do detail, lighting, texture, and stuff like that. We're working our way to it. So I want to get, I want to establish the trees. We're seeing that we have this gap here for mountain terrain, so I feel like I need to drop another mountain in here. So I'm going to distract myself here real quick with some mountain bit. Let's drop something in here like that. Granted, this is probably going to be off screen ultimately, but it's close enough to the structure that the gap is, it's catching my eyes. So it's going to catch somebody else's eye as well. So it's necessary. So do that. Let's get rid of the trees for now. We know where those are at. We're going to grab this. I'm going to smudge this downward into the terrain. Let's make a break here like that. Push that in. And let's grab our chisel. That's about where we're at right now. Break this up a little bit. I'm doing little jitters, like up and down, like little angled jitters that are matching the general cone of the hill. We're using 100% strength on the smudge brush, so when it grabs pixels, it grabs all of it and just drags. Like here, I don't have any pixels selected, so pixels equals 0, but it's 100% of 0. So when I slide across the ink, it effectively erases it. As opposed to if I start the smudge tool in a block of ink and I smudge with 100% smudge tool, it perpetuates 100% of the pixels that I grab drags with me. So when I have a very jagged edge shape like this, and I'm grabbing a section at 100%, and I just click and drag, it'll drag 100% of whatever information. An asymmetrical jagged shape like this, there's all these little teeth that are sticking out that will catch ink, that do catch pixels, but it might also catch a bunch of blank space. So as I push it around, it's grabbing little scraps of pigment to drag with me. So that's how I create all these little chaotic shapes that translate into ridges and recesses on the side of the mountain. And when you're working your angles and with a little bit of practice, it ends up looking really cool. So you're just kind of trusting your eye, because it's just catching light at different angles. So you have like the deep recesses, then you have the highlights, and then you have the reverse, the shadow lighting, because their shadows are going to be anywhere from full color down to black is basically where it is, and black is less and less light, getting to a little nook in the terrain. So like if we zoom in here, you can see I have like these little nooks here that are darker than the shadow. That's just to be able to provide, so you have the highlight, and then we have the shadow color, and then the gaps between the highlight and the shadow is where the deeper recesses are at. And you want to have that three-tone variation, just because the eye accepts that as topography pretty easily. It doesn't take the eye a lot of convincing. It's just it's on board with the idea. And once your eye is on board with the idea, it'll sell the rest of the picture for you. It's when your texture doesn't make sense, or your brushstrokes are too apparent, or the proportions are wrong. When something looks off, it doesn't look natural. That's when your eyes start scrutinizing. What am I looking here? Because if you can't convince your eye of the illusion, then it won't play along. It'll make that illusion become more and more obvious. So again, we're just trying to cheat the eye, give the eye an excuse to shorthand it, because you'll just imagine the details making sense, or it wants details to make sense. Your eye wants things to make sense, which is why I won't let go of flaws, because it's like, I can't get over this. Why doesn't this make sense to me? So anything you can do to trick your eye into not worrying about it, that's where your picture's going to thrive. And that's what's interesting about cubism and surrealism in illustration in general, because you know it's not natural. It's like physically, like by physics, impossible. Like cubism screwing up a face, and with the idea of showing multiple angles at the same time in the same piece. That's like the core of what cubism is. But the unnaturalness of the shapes that you're creating with cubism forces the eye to ask, what the fuck am I looking at? And that's what the artist wants you to do in cubism, ask, what is it that we're looking at? So it actually accomplishes its goals really well. And in the idea of surrealism, you want to create fantastical scenes, landscapes, points of interest, things that themselves also are not natural, so that your eye is like, what is going on here? Because if I build a world of clocks with different gravity planes that people are walking around on MC Escher style, it forces your eye to dive in, like, how can that guy stand upside down like that? And that makes you study the piece, which is what MC Escher wanted you to do with his reverse gravity, like his staircases piece, for example. It's designed to make you go, what the fuck is going on here, so that you'll study the piece. And when you study the piece, you dive into all these little vignette details that he has in the piece, and it becomes super cool. But it's because your eye won't let go. What exactly is going on here? That's what stimulates that conversation. Like, what are you trying to accomplish here? It's like, that's a great question. Take a look. You know? So that's the idea anyway. So when we're building illustrations, we want to give the eye an excuse to accept what's happening. I'm not trying to make the landscape. If I'm making a surreal landscape or whatever in a piece, it's to help reinforce whatever the narrative of that adventure is that's going on. And there's some pretty fantastical locations that you can create that require surrealistic painting for D&D stuff to work. So you want to have a blend of natural physics that the eye can hand wave and just make sense, so that when you run across the magical, fantastical, nonsensical things that occur in the adventure or in your campaign or whatever, your brain's going to slow down and contemplate, wait, what's going on with that there? And that's and that drives them into the piece, just like MC Escher, and you start deciphering things, and if it's a good illustration, it'll start creating its own internal logic. But your eye, since it's not a naturalist painting, any supernatural, magical, surrealistic elements in your illustration is going to compel the eye to take a look at it closer. So I think I've probably beaten that point to death at this point. So I'm going to take an eraser, drop it down to a lower opacity so I can create some low ground shadow effect going on in here. I'm going to grab and drag. That's my practical course on illustration. There you go. So give yourself a stamp of graduation from the College of Phil Art, and sally forth to your nearest art gallery and try to sell your work. They'll be impressed with your prestige. I did not go to art college. I took art classes in college, but I didn't go to art college. I went to the University of Missouri, Columbia. Mizzou, good old Miss. That's actually Mississippi. But yeah, Mizzou. Mizzou is actually is most famous for being a journalism college. But they're pretty flexible. I went to Mizzou to get away from being at home, because I lived on a ranch until I went to college, out in the middle of goddamn nowhere, and I couldn't drive, so I was trapped there unless my parents took me somewhere, or eventually when I got into the later teens, friends would be willing to come out and pick me up and take me away from that place. So I was on the farm a lot. And going to college was a way for me to start accumulating life skills for myself that allowed me to attain a degree of freedom, autonomy, basically, without having to ask permission from someone or ask somebody for a favor to go anywhere, to call my own shots, to have my own time, to not be on shit shovel schedule. So I didn't care what I took in college. I just wanted a safe place to land that didn't require me to understand life skills yet. I spent my college figuring out how to be independent and how to build a life. And once I figured that out, I quit and got a job and started making income for myself and lived my best life in my 20s. But the courses that I took in college were HR administration. If you can fucking believe that. Grinding paperwork 101. I went to culinary school for a bit at a community college. That didn't. I didn't. I had to go back home to my parents' place to be able to do that, and it was. I was completely dependent on them for getting to and from, because the bus routes in St. Louis, Missouri, were horrible, and that's where I had to go from the outer reaches of Wildwood to downtown St. Louis. That was a brutal commute. I was willing to put up with it for 2 semesters for the mission, but it did not work out. So I'm like, okay, I can't do this. I have to be independent. I have to make my own shots, have my own schedule, and not be underneath anyone's thumb. I love you guys. I'm out of here. I gotta be my own thing. So that's why I ended up leaving that, and so I initially went to Mizzou just to get my footing. And once I got my footing, I'm like, okay, I want to do culinary college, so let's go ahead and do that. And then I didn't like the environment, so I'm like, well, what's Mizzou got going on? They don't have a culinary program. Okay, fine. Well, let's just get into business administration instead and HR. And then I hung out there doing that for a couple semesters. And I'm like, I feel like I'm just accumulating debt without a purpose when I could just capitalize on the meager training that I got from culinary school. So true to form, I went to my favorite restaurant in town and showed them my credentials and performed a little demonstration of chopping and basic techniques that I accumulated in culinary school, and I landed a gig there. It was just a dishwasher gig. But within the year, I had become the prep cook there. So I was doing all the desserts, I was doing inventory, I was doing stock off of the trucks. I would do like 30 gallons worth of pasta sauce every day. I'd chuck 10 pounds worth of shrimp. I'd do 15 pounds worth of, I'd chop 15 pounds worth of mushrooms. Just a lot of basic labor stuff of just food preparation. I was the prep cook. So I got to just hang out in the kitchen in the morning before work, and me and the manager would listen to metal on the radio or bring in CDs or whatever and just listen to whatever aggressive music that we wanted to make the knives chop faster. And God, it was a good life. That was a ton of fun. Ton of fun. And I did that for a number of years. So erase some of that again, just to fade it in, break that up. And then I'm going to take our softer cloud smudge tool and just grab and pull up these edges a little bit, just to blend it into a smoky sort of lowland terrain. Hit the eraser tool a little bit to blend it more. There we go. Now let's grab the shadow that we use here and let's create a new layer. And all we gotta do is just kind of dot it into these little gaps that we created. And we'll take the chisel brush and push it to 100%. And do the same typography that we did here. So I put the shadow layer on top of the highlight layer, so you can see here, like I can push down and create these neat little shapes by adding this in here, putting on top. The shadow overlaps and thus conceals the highlights, so the highlights are poking out from the shadows that we create. Drag those around, and it interacts really nicely with the highlighting. Super easy way to do this. All these tools that I'm using are on my Patreon. I think there should be a link to that down below. You don't have to be a paying member to get the ABR brush set, Adobe Brush, ABR, Adobe Brush. The brush set that I use for all of the landscape terrain that I do Bob Ross style. The brushes that I developed allows for us to reproduce these effects efficiently and easily. I approached the Bob Ross organization about, hey, I developed these tools. They work really good in digital. I don't see you guys really doing anything in the digital frontier. Are you guys interested? They're like, fuck no, man. We sell paint. We sell paint for a living here. We don't need digital Photoshop tools that don't require paint and canvas. Get out. They weren't interested in me at all. I don't blame them. Looking back at it, it was kind of dumb. It's like, of course they're going to say no. But to me, it was like, I keep running across people that want to do Bob Ross work. Like, want to duplicate Bob's work in digital medium, clip art studio, Photoshop, wherever. It's like, that is a market that is underserved currently. So it seemed like an opportunity to connect with them. They're like, no, not into that. We are not into that. I think I want to use a little more. Let's grab. That's not how I want to do that. Let's grab that brush here like that. So I developed I developed these tools so that I could do Bob Ross paintings. Since I can't see color, I have to use Photoshop because it allows me to find color references, and then all I have to do is worry about the contrast. And my colorblind eyes specialize in defining contrast, so that actually works out really well. As long as the color that I'm using is sensible and your eye's willing to accept, that's a realistic color for what you're trying to do there, kid. It really does just come down to contrast. And so the RGB tool we have up here in the corner helps define that to make sure the color is good, so that I can just focus on brush techniques and contrast to build my compositions, trusting that the color selections that I find online are going to be accurate and helpful. Sometimes I'll grab a sepia tone or something like that, and I'll get it wrong. But I'm getting pretty good at identifying. Like, I know this is like a very mild, like it's almost gray, but it's got a little bit more red, a little bit more blue, so that's going to read a little bit as purple. But it's probably too subtle to really stand out as that. That seems unnatural. I don't think we have that issue. But I can also fuck around with what an actual normal color is supposed to be, because composition matters a lot. You can have weird skewed colors in your composition if it blends well, if it sits nicely. Like, your mountains could be an off color if they complement the color of the sky a lot. I don't know if that's the case because I can't tell complementary colors other than the RGB slider. So that's not necessarily a reliable tool to indicate complements. Like hot colors, cold colors, balancing that in an equation. Those are things I'm not really good at yet, but if give me enough time, I might figure them out. But it hasn't been a priority for me to specialize that level of color detail. It's just nothing. The illustrations I do for the books that I make don't require that level of intensity, and I accepted a while ago that I probably wouldn't end up doing any Magic the Gathering card art, so I don't have to really worry about competing in that space. So I'm just going to do what I do, and I'm going to end up wherever I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to be thankful for that. Otherwise, I'm going to be attempting to achieve goals that might not be feasible. So I have to redefine what my goals are, given the resources and tools that I have equipped to be able to accomplish goals that I set. So it really just is me setting my own. I don't like washing those away. I like that texture that was in there. I'm going to keep that. That's a cool little ridge. I like that. That's neat. Hey, thanks, Timely Timer. Keeping me on time. 7:14. I've got another 40 minutes left to go. I like how that filled in. One, two, three. There, that feels a little better. Ooh, I like that. That feels pretty good. And let's put in something here. I like this gray. I like this faded smoky space in here. I want to preserve that. Push that out of the way. There. Blend that in. Take your smudge brush. Push it down. That feels... Yeah, there we go. Neat little ridge. I like that. That's going to work. Blend. Erase. Blend, 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 blend. There we go. And now we'll blah blah. Next layer. Nope, let's go. Let's grab the right tool and then put it back up to 100%. So we can push it around a little bit, do the same. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, beep, beep. Beep, 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 beep. Squiggle around until it starts texturizing a little bit, and then keeping the curve of the mass in mind as I'm picking at it so that I can keep that curve in place. Bok, 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 bok. There we go. Drop that in there like that. Reduce the size of the brush just a smidge. Get into that, just to work into that space here. Start breaking it up. There we go. Yeah, let's hit the eraser here. I like that. I like how that looks. Neat little shapes going on inside here. It feels really, really good to find these things. This takes a little bit of practice to make it look the way that you want it to, but it's surprisingly easy once you just relax and learn to. Once you learn the skill, you can trust yourself to just do it. And you don't have to worry about it. It just gets done, and it ends up looking cool. Let's get an eye for it. Erase that down. Grab this. Bring that in here. Like that. shapes a little bit. Hit the eraser a little bit to fatigue the pixels so they drop into more shadow and change the what am I looking for? What does it change? It doesn't. It's just working the angles, working it down. We're getting darker and more shaded as we drop down. There we go. We can pepper that with an eraser a little bit, and we're going to grab our smudge tool and then drop it down to a mid level of strength so we can pull at the edges here a little bit. Blend that in here like this. Hit it with the same eraser again with a low opacity so that it's just destroying a little bit of the pixel information, but it's the same technique that we use to add pixels. Now we'll take 100% of our brush here and we'll be able to build out these ridges here. Nice. That's feeling pretty good. Yeah, I like that. So let's grab another layer here real quick. We'll jump over to here. Let's grab this background color. That doesn't feel right. Hold on. That one. Yeah, there we go. Same process, just drop in the shadows. Naturally working along the terrain features, the angle of the mass. Just working that in. Hit it with the eraser a little bit to fatigue the pixels. And that just magically slides into place too. Take our round brush here with a mid-tone, mid-level of strength so we can smudge and blend. There you go, buddy. There. Now, when we add our forest back in, trees. We don't have anything. It's going to be uninterrupted. We're not going to have any weird gaps now. And I can afford to drop the tree line a little bit because we did open up all that extra space. This over here looks good, but we can take this and drop this down. More like this now. Paste. This one, I actually feel like I want to. Let's take this, free transform. Let's tilt it down a smidge. Not bad. What happens? No, I think I like that. So let's leave that be, and now let's start. We're looking at trees. Let's start layering in some more texture. Let's see. Let's reference our image. This map was created by Casa Stereo on Patreon. Casa Stereo. Instagram is Casa Stereo 89. CASSASTEREO. Casa Stereo has been building maps for Eberron for years now, literally for years. And while I generally don't purchase prefabricated maps like this, occasionally I will if I need it for an adventure. I mean, that's why you do it. Most of the adventure, like actual in-game adventure, like my dungeons are typically when I'm actually live in a game, are like sticks and dots, like circles leading to a room, and then you got a line that goes to another room, and a line over here that goes to another room, and I lo-fi it as hard as possible in my normal games, because I don't want my team to ever know if I'm on or off script. So the shittier my maps are, the more I can just make a map on the fly and it looks the same as the maps that I prepared. You can never really tell how much of this did Phil plan in advance. If I'm good at improvising, and I'm pretty good at improvising, I can get away with it, and they won't ever know. For this adventure, we have obviously a bunch of prefabricated maps that we created because it's an adventure that's being sold and people can't expect to be using their imagination if they're buying my adventure. So we provide as much detail and image referencing as possible for them to be able to run the adventure as detailed. That's just being consumer friendly. But at my home game, I can do whatever I want. So my style is very, very different there. I acknowledge that there is definitely a market for producing map content, but that's not where my heart pulls me, so that's not what I end up doing. Let's go with a sharper green here to add as a highlight. And hey, Sovereign, how you doing? Welcome to the mix. There we go. Here's our full page spread. Sovereign, I don't know if you've ever been here before, so I'm making a D&D adventure for the Eberron campaign setting. And I use a 16:9 format. Add layer mask, get rid of references, add text. So I'm going to add in some extra text here for this concluding the adventure paragraph. But this is generally, if you full screen the display, Photoshop isn't good at snapping to monitor size, but let's go like, there we go. Roughly like that. So that's on your device, 16:9 format, horizontal, and each of these individual columns is also 16:9. So once it is a PDF, you can zoom in and read one column at a time. And because it's a 17-inch wide, 10-inch tall space that we're using, I can use a 12-point font for the body text. It makes it really easy on the eye to read. And so this is, I've never worked in a 16:9 format like this before, but all the work, I don't intend my PDFs to be printed. So I don't have any restraints on, like it doesn't have to be an 8.5 by 11. That only makes sense if you're going to print it using normal pieces of paper. A5, like the little zine 5x8s. Like you only need to work in that format if you're planning on actually printing it. And since my D&D stuff, I never intend for it to be printed, I'm starting to really lean into, well, if it's a PDF, what's the best way for us to be able to build information on a PDF to actually be used in a game space? And I find having a tablet, like, here's my DM tablet. I can just, it's also 16:9 format. I can just drop this down onto the table in front of me behind my DM screen. And I can easily navigate through what the adventure is because the font size is huge. It makes it really easy for me just to glance down, look at what's going on, and then re-engage the team. That, to me, is just good media. So I'm being innovative, I guess, in exploring that space. So I saw your post on Blue Sky. Hey, cool. Welcome to the mix, man. Glad to have you. Yeah, I stream 5 days a week in the mornings, and then I do D&D game design in the evenings, like Mondays and Thursday nights, like tonight, and then Tuesday and Friday lunches as well. So there's a stack of books that I've made. If you're a D&D enthusiast for the 5e game engine, I've got a ton of stuff that's linked down below that all has free previews. So I do all my own artwork. I do my own game design. I play test all this stuff, and then we write it out, and then we hire an editor. And when it comes back from the editor, we do page layouts, and then we do all the artwork, and then we publish the book. So the last book that I published was the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration document. Here, since you're new to the channel, let me brag real quick. I don't know if you like D&D or not, but I love making these things. So the last book that we published, Spelljammer Combat and Exploration, it converts ship combat into the 5e game engine, like character combat, where your characters are basically at the 50 or 500 foot scale in these ships interacting with each other. So you can see it here. Book cover that I made. Obviously got the sample across the front of it, but the like here's your ship roles, like here's the different action economy that you can use with your team depending on what kind of a role you're playing on the ship. And we have the navigation. I love these little navigation buttons that'll bounce you around the document. Those are just fun. Ship hazards, fires, like how fire affects your atmosphere on your ship and stuff like that. Combat here. Here's your scale, the 5-foot scale of operating as like at your character level. The 50-foot scale for fighter craft and melee combat and vessels, and the 500-foot scale. You can see how the tokens are the same, but like scale becomes different. Like a pixie in a dungeon is only 2 feet tall, but in a 5-foot square dungeon, your VTT is just gonna automatically snap it to filling the space, fills the space. And now we're at the 5-foot scale. This 50-foot flitter, it's a 10 by 10 space there. So you can see how we can change scale in combat. To move from this fleet scale down to the 50-foot scale to have multiple ships, down to the 5-foot scale for characters on the ship. So we figured out all the physics of how to make movement and how, like, the different types of movements, zooming in and out of camera, the pan in your environment. Yeah, this thing was a joy to make, but all the artwork we built here on screen, and we play tested the fuck out of this in Light as Araxis, as well as like Descent to the Avernus. Here's one of the illustrations. These little spiderling gunboats that are stalking this galleon that's flowing through this asteroid field. Super fun stuff. Just a really, really fun way to translate. You can see here all these little pockets here where the page of text is peeling away to the sky space behind it. We'll be able to do something similar to that with the Eberron adventure that we're creating. We'll create a frame, like the frame that we currently have here. This is just a space filler for now for framework, but we're going to build out this filigree that's the border. We'll build it into something official, and then if we find a little nip, like a little nook here that isn't big enough to warrant its own illustration, but is also a glaring hole, we can fill it in with these interesting little texture displays that just bleed off the page into the illustration. So fun stuff, really fun design work that we get to do. Get that out of the way, because whatever. But yeah, tons of books, tons of different ideas that we built. Mostly what I like to do is take the 5e game engine and make it do different things. Like if Wizards' use of the 5e game engine is to like basically make a minivan to run your family around in, I use the 5e game engine to build off-road Jeeps and race cars. Sometimes I'll drop a titanium block underneath it and just go street hopping, but yeah. I was an illustrator. I've been a DM since 1987, and I started getting into illustration, drawing, in general, around the same time when I was 12. And big robot cartoons like Robotech, Gundam, stuff like that became heart fuel for me to fall in love with mecha. But there's a lot of interesting. There's a lot of obvious parallels between mecha and suits of armor. So I was developing those two illustration skills at the same time from the role-playing games like Rifts, Robotech, stuff like that, were the role-playing games I was into in the 80s. And both of those just propelled me into getting into more and more illustration and expanding my set to organic material and then flesh and then musculature and anatomy. And fantasy illustration has no end to how many little things you need to know to make illustrations work properly. And I've spent almost 40 years now figuring out all those little bits and just adding them to the equation to be able to build out better tools, better games, better illustrations. I'm rambling, don't mind me. The official rules from Spelljammer were super disappointing. These rules, the ship combat look really good. Yeah, I mean, the whole book is available for you to look at for free. If you want to buy it to support more endeavors like that, you're welcome to. One of the projects I have slated for 2026 is a Mecha Kaiju book, where instead of flying around inside of ships, like all the ships are like animal shaped, right? Because that's the aesthetics that they chose. But mechanically, there's no reason why those ships can't be Gundam shaped. So we've already built out some preliminary rules for Gundams. And then alongside it, Mega Kaiju, creatures that are... I actually have a video. If you check out my video listings, here, I'll show you. Here, click here, go into my stuff. I have fuck tons, like thousands of videos of me live streaming artwork and design stuff. But I have very few actual published videos. And so I've got when Spelljammer was the last major book that I published, so I made a bunch of little vignette chapters about like how all the different mechanics, like how ship combat mechanics works. This one's about morale and mutiny aboard your ships. This one's about how to use your character's action economy to command teams of siege crew to fire siege engines using the same action economy as your character would in 5e combat at the dungeon scale. So these are all little vignette pieces about different mechanics in the game. But then the Spelljammer Mega Kaiju, this was part of Monster Week 2024 that Jenny D and Pointy Hat posted. So I participated in making a Mega Kaiju that's in this map, each square is 500 feet on the Rock of Brawl. And so this particular video is about making a 1,500 foot Mega Kraken that's attacking the Rock of Brawl. And so we have mechanics for how to design creatures that are 500 to 1 mile in size, because we have fleet mechanics inside the book that teach you how to control multiple ships as a group. Just like you can control multiple characters to fire a siege weapon, you can control multiple ship crews to act as a fleet. So you can send a fleet after these massive scale creatures. So the step in between a 1,500 foot Mega Kaiju and like a 20-foot scale dragon, like the Tarrasque is 70 feet in size, that's going to require multiple squares like at the 50-foot scale. So we can build mecha machines like war golems that your characters can pilot, the same as you can pilot ships to fight these massive scale creatures. So that'll be the next supplement that that and subclasses that we'll publish for Spelljammer specifically. But when we build an idea, it's like I had to build the Spelljammer mechanics so I'd have a foundation for how vehicles can operate in a fantasy space environment, so that I can create other books. Now that I have the base physics of how that works, now we can play with those physics and come up with new combat scenarios and new adventure scenarios. And like, we'll be playtesting the Mecha Kaiju rules on my Discord by converting Storm King's Thunder into a Spelljammer campaign, where the Storm King's flying citadel is going to be a dwarven fortress. We'll all play dwarves in war golems that are being sent out in our dwarven citadel to different asteroid communities to protect them from Mega Kaiju attacking. So if you're familiar with like XCOM, the game XCOM, or XCOM 2 perhaps, where you had your carrier ship that you would then load out your SWAT team to go fight aliens to achieve goals, and when you did, you'd recover resources and intel to provide you new plot hooks to go to another location to attack aliens there, and you'd pick up alien tech that you'd reverse engineer to build into new weapons, armor, and options for your characters. The Storm King's Thunder with Mega Kaiju can work the same way, that you're going to these communities to protect them from kaiju attack, and when you defeat the kaiju, you can harvest the kaiju's body to extract magic components and resource materials to build new tools in your Dwarven Fortress to go fight more kaiju in the future. And we can use the Bastion campaign system that we've been developing here to develop those facilities to extract, like an extraction facility, and then the laboratory can then convert those materials into useful magic items, and blah 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 blah. We've covered all that in the Bastion campaign playlist that I have. But so the Storm King's Thunder, I'm hoping to have that up and running by January 2026, so 6 months ish from now. That should be a live playtest that I'll be running on my Discord for like levels like 5 to 12, something like that. And during that course, we'll have plenty of opportunity to fuck around with the mecha rules and the kaiju rules, and making sure that the Bastion works and is fun the way that I want it to be. And during the course of all of that, we'll be seeding that we can then start building these out in the books. And once the playtesting is done, I'll be able to resolve the text for the books and then publish them and then move on to the next thing. So my council of friends here in my real life suggested that, we like that you're doing the color magic system for MTG, but you've already done that for 2014. It's not your biggest priority. What you want to do is, they tell me, is go with the thing that's going to be the greatest good for the greatest amount of people that are playing D&D. And it was decided that the Bastion campaign idea, taking the Bastions that they put in the 2024 books and doing something meaningful with them so they actually have a purpose in your campaign, like they become integral to your campaign instead of a clip-on system for giving you free magic items. Build it out into something that's more robust, that you can actually develop that Dominion style of gameplay from the first editions. Like they're like, that's what you should do next. And I'm like, okay. The Council of Friends have spoken. They specifically want me to do the Bastion campaign book, so I will make the Bastion campaign book my next focus. And we just happen to get to use it in Storm King's Thunder with a Dwarven Citadel. So we'll be building all that stuff here on screen too, and then we'll be actually playing it on my Discord. So most of my playtesters actually came from this live stream, like just hanging out and deciding that they think the stuff that I do is cool, and then they jump in my Discord, and I was like, hey, I want to do some playtesting. Who's available? People raise their hands, and then we build characters, and they stick around for a while, and they end up being super cool. Anyway, I digress. I geek out a little bit over it. I mean, I geek out a little bit. There, let's do that. Merge this down. All these tools that I'm using to make this shrubbery and stuff, they're all on my Patreon. It's an ABR file. If you just follow me on Patreon, you can download the brush set for free. I'm not doing a lot with my Patreon right now, but the intent is once we've updated the color mana system rules for 2024, start building subclasses, races, feats, spells, and magic items for people to use in the MTG settings using the color mana system that I developed. It's pretty fluid. It's pretty good. That looks nice. I like that. It's not very punchy, but that's okay. I don't think I want the trees to be too punchy, because we want to layer in the manifest zone mist. And since I don't see color, I can only imagine the contrast, but I feel like, see, I've got purple for the mountains, like a very mild purple gray, which puts green below the RB, like up here in the corner, the color slider. This is my color vision, this RGB. So I can see that the G is a little bit lower than the R and the B. It's very close to gray, but there's just a little bit of tint there. But when I flip it, the green that I'm using on the trees is also a very unsaturated green, but the green is slightly higher than the R and the B. I know from the color wheel that purple and green are fairly complementary to each other. So I can see that reflected here. Generally, the rule that I've learned is that when I flip colors like this, if they're basically balanced but mirrors of each other, they're complementary. So reflection like this RGB, like the center point here through this RGB, these colors are basically twisting around that center point, which means that technically these things are complementary to each other. So I don't have to really worry about as long as the color makes sense in the real world, like trees are green. Okay, I can run with that. They can also be red, there's variance. But as long as I'm using the right color for the right object and I'm matching it up with something that's color complementary to it, that's going to be generally a safe space for me to use that, even though I don't see color myself. It's going to make sense to people that have color vision generally. I mean, in theory, because it's all theory to me. This color thing is just make believe to me. It's just like robots can't smell, if there is such a thing. Same thing for me. I have this crazy dream fantasy that when I die and we persist, that our souls actually persist after we die, and in the afterlife we have a chance to look at our life, and at that point I won't have flawed machinery, so I'll actually be able to see all the color work that I've done. So I have a legitimate reason to be excited about dying. So my job here on Earth is to create as much content and produce as much stuff as I can, because I'll actually get to be able to see it when I'm dead. I won't care anymore because I'll be disassembling my ego structure and extracting myself from this life coil. But I'm hoping there's a period of time where I still have personality attachment to my soul, and that I'll still care about who actually killed JFK, are aliens real, all that kind of crap. Hopefully I'll get all those answers and it'll be incredibly satisfying. But more so than anything else, I just want to have a chance to flip through the books that I made, just to see what all the hubbub is about. I've only recently got into doing some art stuff for yourself. I've never been much of an artist. Hey, right on. I was wondering about the brushes. I take a look. Yeah, these are all custom built brushes. I had a Twitch stream for a while where I would play Bob Ross episodes and paint along with them using digital tools. And I got a lot of copyright strikes, so I decided not to play with Twitch and to start over here on YouTube. But for the time being, it was a lot of fun. And as a result of that was like in 2017. Jesus. Yeah, in 2017, that's when I started developing these tools. And I did over 120 illustrations from Bob's channel, and basically paused, broke down the color composition, looked at how the brush, like how he was making brush strokes with his different tools, and then developed these tools to simulate them. But obviously we don't have the same flexible versatility that you have in actual meat space of three-dimensional, like XYZ axis and different pressure points on your 1000 horsehair brushes. The fans work differently. The palette knife doesn't grab the canvas the way that it would on Bob's show, so we had to adapt almost all of these tools to work differently. So I built the tools to be able to duplicate the effects, but I also had to learn how to use the tools properly to create the effects. So I like streaming environment artwork like this and then providing the tools for you guys, so that if you're into digital illustrations, you can use these and just follow along in my techniques, and you'll be able to similarly create really satisfying landscapes. My landscape game, my landscapes were weakest at the time in the mid like in the teens, 2000 teens. My environments were the weakest part of my illustrations. So I was at the time I was sending work to Paizo to do Pathfinder art, and they said, your stuff is good. We just want to see you improve your environments so that your character art fits inside the environments better. If you can improve the quality of your environments, come back and we'll give you a job. And so I went on a year-long quest to get better at making my environments, and during that time I found out they only pay like around $800 for a book cover. My God, I'm murdering myself for an $800 gig. Fuck off. So I decided not to bother to continue pursuing it. But I forever thank Paizo for being the fuel of inspiration to allow me to develop these tools to overcome. I mean, they were very generous in giving me time and really chewing on my portfolio that I had developed at that time. They really believed that they were interested in me. That was such a fantastic motivator for me. So I am eternally thankful to the Paizo team here in Seattle. But I just ended up not wanting to work with them. I fell in love with 5e, and just decided to put all my eggs in that basket for a while. So 7 years later, I love the 5e game engine. I love building with it. It's such a great kit bash. Like you can build anything with 5e, and I love proving it. So tonight when we come back and we do game design, we'll be finishing out the Mage Tower mechanics so that we can have a PvP sport using the 5e combat game engine. Strixhaven made Mage Tower sport. They made it into a skill challenge where everyone would pick what ability score they wanted to roll and what skill the DM would agree would be relevant to the competition, and then you do an ability check, and then the result of that ability check would be added to everyone that was playing, and whichever team had the highest ability score total cumulative would win the match. And so you could process a match of Mage Tower in literally a minute, and you're done with the match. But that just feels just incredibly unsatisfying to me. It's like this is an opportunity for us to create a competition mode, like a legitimate PvP mode that doesn't revolve around killing each other. Like, I've participated in a lot of PvP matches over the years in virtually every edition, because that's just, people get bored, they want to compete, let's build characters and see who wins. It's like, but killing each other, like, that doesn't have any real value in game. Like, if you wanted to actually drop that in game, that rivalry spirit, you need a sport. Like, that's what sports are for, to be able to resolve rivalries without having to shoot each other in the face. So I felt it was a great opportunity for us to take the idea of Mage Tower and flesh it out into a combat sport. And I think we'll be able to finish the rules tonight. And once we do, we can then start building athletes with the different mechanics that we've developed. And then, like I was saying at the beginning of all this, is if we either have too many people or too few people show up to play test the mega dungeon that I run on Saturday mornings, then instead we can shift to, well, let's play a couple matches of Mage Tower instead and see if that's fun. So I don't know if it'll be fun or not, but I suspect it can be. So it's just a matter of hitting the right tone, and like the DM can create specialized synergy teams that have like a shtick, kind of like with like the Ranma 1/2 cartoon. I don't know anyone that's seen Ranma that's watching this at this point, but I was a huge Ranma fan in the 90s. And every week there would be a new type of martial artist that would challenge the heroes to competitions, and they'd all have like, because they were all like, here it was all like monster of the week flavor, so they'd have like unique, like it'd be a unique competition with unique rules that they'd have to figure out how they could use their martial arts to defeat their enemy literally at their own game, and it was really fun. And so that's the kind of vibe that I'd like to bring to this, where I can build unique teams. Like this team is all about paralysis, or this team is about exploiting, like by summoning creatures or something to act as like a defense line or something like that. Who knows? Like this team's all about sonic booms. Whatever it is that we end up doing. But we'd have a framework with the sport. We'd have a framework to build those thematic teams to challenge your characters, and then the players would have their athletes, and if it was part of an ongoing campaign, you would have a mix of both competition matches in the arena, and then you'd have gigs outside of the arena where you're out doing your mercenary work or whatever. Kind of like the bard party sort of idea, going from town to town running gigs like concerts, and then between the concerts you'd have adventures, or like you're actually looking for this mad wizard. But you're using like the K-pop demon hunters. You're using the cover of your band as an excuse to go fight demons. Same sort of idea. I think I've been in like 3 different campaigns like that over the past 30 some odd years. They're fun ideas, but sustaining them is difficult because once you really dive into narrating a concert, you don't really need. Like, how interesting is that actually going to be? It has a very limited palette of in-game representation, and the one that I liked the most was there was a transdimensional league where we were 22nd level characters as a part of a band. That was fun for a little bit, but the Dark Sun campaign where we were 5th level, that was a lot more fun. We go from city state to city state, and then we would basically hunt rogue scions on the side. That looks okay. I think I want to tear this out. Create a degree of separation there, and then we'll cut this loose here. There. Create a little bit of separation in there. These trees aren't actually important. It's the mist that we want. So looking at our reference, Casa Stereo on IG, Casa Stereo 89 created this map. You can see Atur Academy was built on a very weak powered manifest zone to the plane of Mabar. Hey, what's up? What is your favorite method of cooking eggs? Hey, Lint, how you doing? I like poached. I'm horrible at cooking poached. Poached is my favorite type of egg to eat, but I'm not good at making them. I would say making omelets is my favorite because it allows me to dump in ingredients and stuff like that. I enjoy doing that. But poached eggs, eggs Benedict. God, I fucking love a good Benny. Give me a good Benny, and I am going to be a happy breakfaster. But I'm a big brunch enthusiast in general. Great question, Lent. Let's take our cloud brush, and then our cloud brush again. 52 strength should be good. Let's up the size of it a little bit. And we're just going to do, just like Bob Ross, just like little circles to fluff out that smoke. Fluff that out. I've got until, oh god, it's 7:58. I am apparently out of time. I've got a day job, and I got to go do that day job every day. So I can stream till it's almost 8 o'clock here in Seattle. So that's the time I got to bail and go to my day job. So I'll be out of here 10 hours from now. Will be 6 o'clock Seattle time. I'll be back from my day job, and I'll be online. We're gonna finish out the Strixhaven mechanics, and then Friday I'll have a lunch. I'll have a lunch stream. I work from home on Fridays, so Tuesdays and Fridays I'm at home, so I can stream online during my lunch shift. So if we're successful in finishing out the Strixhaven Mage Tower sport mechanics tonight, then tomorrow we can start actually building characters. Our team in the Mega Dungeon right now is 7th level. So I'll start building 7th level athletes as our backup plan. Instead of having to cancel a game if too few people show up, we'll instead, if anyone's interested, be able to run Mage Tower, a couple matches of that, and then I'm hoping a full game of Mage Tower takes an hour or maybe less. That'd be a good sport. That'd be a good little game to run. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, we'll start by building 7th level characters, and as the Mega Dungeon gains levels, we'll keep building new teams that have higher level abilities with higher levels themselves. And the Mega Dungeons plan to run through 10th level, but we might push to 11th. Who knows? But it's designed to end at double digits because dungeon. But once we do, we want to continue using the martial power mechanics that we've been developing for martial characters to use a mana system. And at that point, instead of making a new adventure for characters level 11 to 20, which will get a little crazy, instead, I think I just want to run, assuming that it's fun, run Mage Tower matches for characters level 10 to 20. And if that all works out and we're having a lot of fun and the mechanics work, then maybe we'll build some teams and actually stream games and see if people think it's cool too, and potentially have a league grow out of it, a Strixhaven Mage Tower league. That'd be super fucking fun. So we'll see. We'll see if it, I mean that'd be the dream to have that work out, but there's no guarantee that it will. So for now, we're going to go ahead and stop. When we come back tomorrow, we'll work on the mist here to get that out. So we have this foreground atmospheric mystique, and then with the Atur Academy itself here in the midground, we'll start adding details and lighting and stuff to flesh that out. So mountain background, sky background, those look great. Foreground is probably going to end up looking good. I might play with the highlights on the trees a little bit to make them pop a little bit more. But I think between the mist, the tower, the sky, I think the composition feels pretty good. And then we'll worry about framing. But yeah, so this might be done by Friday. Maybe we'll still be doing detailed work on Monday. But I gotta go. Oh yeah, I'm late at this point. I gotta get out of here. So thanks a lot, guys, for hanging out with me. Like, subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get notification. I'm here 9 times per week. I've been doing this literally for years. And every time I build a new book, we build the book here on screen. And then when it's done, we grab another book and we keep building. So what we do is it evolves over time, but it's all sort of the same stuff. So if you think this sort of stuff is cool, stick around. Because until God takes me, I'll be doing a lot of it. So catch you guys later. Cheers.